Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to create this 3D card and add a hover effect to it. And we are going to be using just HTML and CSS. So before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button and leave a like on this video if it helps you out. Now let's get right into it. In the VS Code workspace, all we need is our HTML document and the CSS file, and we are good to go. So the HTML document, we have this boilerplate for a standard HTML5 document. Inside the boilerplate, we have the title of our document, which is 3D card hover effect, and a script element I copied from fontawesome.com because we are going to be using a font awesome icon in our project. Now, if you want to know how you can add icons in your project, I have a video on it. It is in the top right corner. There is a link in the description. Go and watch it in order to know how to add icons to your project. And then we have a link to the CSS file. This is all we need to get started. So in the body of the HTML document, first add a div section with a class name of wrapper. Inside this wrapper div, we have an anchor element. And in the anchor element, we first have an icon. So we go into the website of Font Awesome. And then search for the Facebook icon. So click on this Facebook icon and copy the I element and paste it inside the anchor element here. Still in the anchor element, we have a span element with an inner text of Facebook. And this is all we need for the markup. Now in the CSS file, let's add some styles. So we first select all elements with the global element selector and remove the default margin, the padding also, and set the box sizing property to border box. Next, we style the body. So give the body a gray background color. And set the minimum height of the body to 100 VH. Now we want to centrally place the content of our card. So set the display property of the body to flex, the justify content, center, and the align items to center. Next, you start the wrapper div. So with the wrapper class name, set the background color of the wrapper to white so we can see it clearly. Then we give it a definite width and height. Next, we want to rotate and slant it. So with the transform property, we rotate it by negative 30 degrees. And then we skew it by 30 degrees. And this is what we have. Next, we start the anchor element inside the wrapper div. So with the wrapper div, any anchor element, set the font family to sans serif. And we give the definite height of 100%. So that will be 100% of the total height of the wrapper div. So again, we centrally place everything here. So set a display to flex, justify content to center, and the align items property also to center. Now add a gap of 20 pixels between the two elements, which is the icon and the span element. And then remove the text decoration. Set it to none. Then the text color, set it to black. Then we set the positioning property to relative, because we want to attach some elements to the anchor element later. So we set the position to relative. Next, we start the I element and the span element inside this anchor element. So with the wrapper div, any anchor element, you start out the icon and you increase the font size to 3 EM. Next, with the wrapper div, any I element, you style any span elements and you also increase the font size to 1.8 EM and then you bold in the text. Next, you're going to add 2 elements to it in order to make it look like a 3D icon card. So we first add an element before it and then an element after it. So we use the before and after pseudo elements. So with the wrapper div, any A element, add a before pseudo element, and the content of this before pseudo element should be empty. Set the width to 31 pixels and the height to 77 pixels. You give it a background so you can see it. Set the position to absolute. And because initially we set the position of the A element to relative, that means the element before it will stick to it. When you position it properly by setting the top positioning to 21 pixels and the left positioning to negative 26 pixels. Then we rotate and skew it. So set a transform property to rotate by negative 40 degrees. And then you skew it by negative 40 degrees also. And this is what we have. So add the next element after our anchor element. So with the wrapper div, any A element, we add an element after. So we target it with the after pseudo element. And again, the content of this should be empty. The width should be 100%. The height should be 19 pixels. And also we give it the same background. So you can copy this background and paste it over here. And set the position again to absolute. And the top positioning, set it to 100 pixels. And the left positioning to negative 12 pixels. And we're going to skew it in order to slant it. So with the transform property, we skew it by negative 51 degrees. So this is the initial 3D look of our card. Then we add properties for when you hover over the card. So with the wrapper div, any A element, when you hover over it, change the background color to a blue background color. Then we change the text color to white. And we add a box shadow of negative 60 pixels, 50 pixels, and 15 pixels. Now these three values mean 60 pixels to the left, 50 pixels to the bottom, and 15 pixels blur and a black color. When you hover over it, this is what we have. And then we also change the background color of this before and after pseudo element. So with the wrapper div, any A element, when you hover over it, what happens to the after pseudo element? And again with the wrapper div, any A element, when you hover over it, what happens to the before pseudo element? You change the background color again to a deep blue color. And this is what we have. So the last thing you're going to do is to add transitions. First to the anchor element itself, and then the before and after pseudo element. So in the anchor declaration block, we add a transition for all the properties we set to 0.3 seconds ease. And then for our before pseudo element, we add a transition of 0.3 seconds ease. And lastly, for the after pseudo element also, we add a transition of 0.3 seconds ease. Now when you hover over it, this is what we have. So yeah, that's how to create a 3D icon card and add a hover effect to it using HTML and CSS. I hope this video helped you out, and if it did, make sure to hit the subscribe button and leave a like on this video. And let me know in the comments section if you need any help in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I'll be willing to help. I'll see you in the next video.